So we've all been there. The ball is in the rough, and the lies that you get in the rough are completely different to what you get off the fairway. And you saw there at the start, I went to go and hit a nice high shot with this ball that's sitting up in the grass, and my club completely went under it. Why is that? Well, today I'm going to cover off the 3 most common lies that we get around the green when we're in the rough. So the 3 most common lies that I see is a ball that's really deep underneath the grass, which would be this one here. You can see here that this golf ball is not sitting up on the grass. It's not quite in the middle. It's all the way down on the ground on the bottom. And you can see I can almost cover that entire golf ball up with the grass. That's kind of lie. That's the worst lie that we're going to get. The second lie that we get is one that's kind of half and half. It's not quite sitting perfectly on top of the grass, and it's not completely buried like this one here on my left. It's kind of sitting half and half. Believe it or not, but this is one of the easiest shots to play, and it really helps us out in regards to how much that ball spins. We're going to talk about that very soon. And finally, we get the lie that's sitting right on top of this grass here. Now this can be a challenging one because we might think, well, it's in the rough, so we have to get that club down into the ground, but that's not correct. When that ball's sitting up on top of the grass, we need to play it just a little bit differently. So once you've identified your lie in the rough, it now becomes a matter of how do you play it? What do we need to change that's different to our stock chip shot when we're off the fairway? Now there's one thing that you'll need to change, and that is the depth that your golf club is entering the ground. So for those who don't know what depth is, basically if we are super deep, think about bunker play. If you've got really hard sand, you need the golf club to get into that hard sand. So we need to get this golf club to crash right into the bottom of that grass or the bunker if we're using a bunker, for example. But for this example here, this ball in particular is right on the bottom of the ground. So if we don't get the golf club down into that ground, we're either going to scull it or we're going to top it. So we need maximum amount of depth to tackle this lie. And if we go on the other end of the spectrum, less depth is me just clipping this golf ball off the top of this rough that we're seeing here today. So this lie here, we need to almost feel like we're hitting up on the golf ball, believe it or not. And of course the middle lie, we don't want to completely chop down on that golf ball, and we don't want to skim it just off the top. We can play this fairly normal, but what we need to understand is what is the ball going to do when it hits the green with each of these different lies. So once we understand that this ball here requires maximum amount of depth and this ball here requires a minimum amount of depth, we now need to understand what does the ball do once it's hit and how does it react on the green. So what I'm going to do for you now is I'm going to hit these golf shots. We're going to go to the red flag and we're going to watch how this golf ball reacts. I'm going to take my guess as to what it's going to do when it hits the green based on the lie that I'm going to put these golf balls in, and you're going to see how it reacts on the green. So let's start off with the basic one, which is that middle ball that's not quite sitting on the ground and it's not quite sitting up on the top of the grass. So we're going to take this ball, and really, this is one that we can just drop, and it kind of sits, oh, that was too good. It kind of sits half and half there, as you can see. Okay, so it's not quite on the bottom and it's not quite on the top. So really, what we need to do here is just get down into that grass ever so slightly. I'm not trying to really get that club in the ground, and I'm not trying to sweep it off the ground. I want to get just into that ground enough. Now, what this ball is going to do is this is going to pop up higher and it's going to come out with less spin. And the reason being is when I hit this golf ball, I'm going to have too much grass in between my face and ball to allow that ball to spin. So what I can do is I can make sure that my landing zone is a little bit further from the flag than it might usually be on the fairway. and then from there we can watch that ball roll out. So I'm going to go and hit this one. So I'm expecting a higher ball flight than normal. I can play this with a square club face. I don't have to open this up as much because the lie is already going to help that ball pop up in the air. So let's go ahead and hit this golf shot. Square club face, normal stance, maybe ever so slightly back in the stance. And I'm just going to hit a normal golf shot with a little bit more depth than my normal fairway shot. And as you can see there, it's come up a little bit short, but ultimately you saw the flight pop up quite high and it didn't have a lot of spin. Now, in regards to my contact on the club face, hopefully you can see this if I come closer to the camera here, but you can see that there's a green mark on kind of above the middle of my golf club here, and that showed that I may have just got a little bit too deep. So the club entered the ground just a little bit too much, and that's what caused my golf ball to hit a little bit too high on the club face. So the second lie we're going to cover here is the one that's completely under the ground. So this is one where if we get very unlucky with our lie, we're going to catch this one. So I'm going to basically put this golf ball all the way to the bottom there. Okay, you can almost, don't even know if you can see that on the camera there, but the ball's right here and you can maybe just see the top of it. So because it's already on the bottom of the ground, I need to now go after that ground. I need to get this golf club to reach the bottom of the ground. So I need a lot of vertical with the golf club and a lot of down with the golf club. Now, what you want to do here is you want to open the club face to some degree. Now, the reason why is we don't want to come in with a square club face and we don't really want to lean the shaft, because we will have no ability to keep that ball on the green. I'll even show you that one right now. So obviously I need to increase depth. If I play this without the face being open, number one, I got the depth pretty good, but you can see that it's just impossible to stop. Now, I would have to be super accurate to hit that golf ball just on the front edge and let it trickle out. So you can see that a square club face and deep club going into the ground won't work here. We still need a little bit of height. So I'll play this one again with the proper technique that I would recommend. So we're going to get that golf ball sitting right into the bottom of that grass. Let me try and find the worst lie I possibly can. So right about there would be my worst lie. And I'm going to open the face and I'm going to feel like this golf club slams into the bottom of the ground. You can hear the contact I'm making there. And in some degree, this is a bit of a lucky dip, should we say, whether we get the correct flight and landing point. So let's give this a go. Open face, a little bit wider stance, feeling very much up and down, and increase that depth. And you can see there, no spin whatsoever. That's a fairly decent result from that lie. But one thing you can see is I was able to take a divot because I need to do this because the ball is sitting right on the bottom of the ground. I need to get that steep and that deep on that golf ball. Now, the final shot we want to cover off is the one that's sitting on top of the grass. So obviously you can see how long this grass is. So if I take you back to my first shot of this video, I placed that golf ball pretty much on top of this grass, and all I did in order for my golf club to get way underneath that thing was I increased my depth. But that would be incorrect in this scenario because there's so much grass underneath this golf ball that if I got deep into this golf ball, the club just goes straight underneath it. Okay, so what we need to do is, let me re-put this on a better lie here, is I almost want you to feel here that you are hitting up on the golf ball. Might sound strange, but this is a way that we don't want the golf club to hit down into the ground. We don't want it to go deep. We want to just clip this ball off the top of the grass. Now, in regards to the reaction that it's going to get on the green, I would expect this to come out fairly low with a lot of spin, because we are still going to be able to get ball first. If we can limit the amount of interaction there is between grass and ball, we're going to increase the amount of spin. Make sure your club face is clean. Mine's a little dirty right now, so it might not spin as much, but I'm going to feel like I'm barely touching the grass in this shot right here. So let's give this a go. Really shallow, no depth whatsoever. Almost feel like I'm hitting up on the golf ball. You can see there that that was very, very nice. I barely touched the grass. The ball come out pretty low to medium, and you could see it actually check up a little bit. It didn't release like the other ones. And again, the depth that I used there was very shallow. I'm almost trying to feel like it's on a high tee, and I'm just clipping that ball off that high tee. So there you have it. Next time you're on the chipping green, make sure that you're not just practicing off fairway lies, because as you saw there, those 3 different lies in the rough required a completely different movement, a completely different club movement to your normal fairway lie. So my recommendation would be to throw some golf balls around the green, chuck them in the rough, and make sure that you're becoming aware of how to get that club into the turf the correct way, and also be mindful of how that ball is going to react when it leaves the face. Hopefully you all enjoyed that video. Thanks for watching.